Hello everybody! Welcome to a hybrid theory video where today I'm going to be showing footage of me fighting the Roaring Knight from Chapter 3 of Deltarune. In addition, I'm going to be pointing out a couple of moments in the video that leads me to the belief of the Knight's true identity. Now, before we get started, Undertale, Deltarune, and all its related properties and musics are the property of Toby Fox and his amazing coworkers. Seriously, go play this game. It is worth every penny you spent, and support the official release. Now, the very first appearance of the Knight is a bit of a special one. They're revealed to us in the same sort of glint that we see Chris initially. This made people think that Chris wasn't the Knight after all, because why could they be? They're in the two places at the same time. It can't be Chris, right? Well, unless Chris is something special, because Chris's soul is unaccounted for. So what if the Knight has it? What if the Knight is an amalgam? A couple of credence. First, the red flash you saw. We associate that with the power of determination. A ability that both humans and monsters have the ability to create and to persevere. Now, the idea is, if that is Chris's soul and the Knight, well, who's the body? Well, you might actually think that the body is both, and I mean this quite seriously, the body is both Azrael and Death, who have fallen down and turned into ashes. There's a couple of credence for this. First, Chris's damage against the Knight is laughable at best. Even with a fully powered slash with the most powerful weapon you can have at this time, you will deal. And the most powerful weapon Chris can have at this point in the story is the Saber 10. The most that Chris will deal is 20 damage, compared to the hundreds of damage that Chris was doing during the fight with Tenna. My credence for this is not just that Chris is working with the Knight. My credence is that Chris does not want to harm either his brother, or either their brother, or themselves. And if they were to use much more of their strength, that would be a much more show and tell, so to speak, of Chris's true allegiances. Additionally, a lot of people don't seem to talk about the star attacks, which is almost directly rifted from Undertale's version of the True Pacifist final boss against Azrael Dream, where stars are a huge part of Azrael's offensive repertoire. Now, additionally, the Knight seems to be able to morph and meld their body as they wish. I believe the reason for this is, like Flowey, they can shapeshift. That would be the good association why they have not only the turning into the sort of reindeer bird when they kidnap Undyne later in this video, but additionally, their roar, their laugh, and all of the amalgam traits that they show. Now there's one last credence that I believe that the Knight is currently an amalgam. And that reason is, in Undertale, while you're going through the waterfall section, you hear the lore of monsters and humans, and how human souls are just infinitely stronger than a monster soul, unless the monster is a boss monster. Now, this was never really explored in this concept in Undertale, except in the first human and Azrael's backstory. My belief is that Toby is using his example of the strongest creature possible to be the antagonist of this side story of Deltarune. That would lead credence to the fact that Azrael is gone. Now, I've heard a lot of theories about it being Des, and there's a lot of theories that support this. From the track Lost Girl to the 1225 Easter egg that you can find in the capsule machine in this chapter. So why do I think that it's also Azrael? Well, I think it's Toriel. We have seen in Undertale, Toriel is very comfortable letting herself sit in delusion and denial. She was more than willing to never let Chris go and find their way back home. And something must have happened between Asgore and Toriel for such the visceral reactions that she's been having towards him. Whatever the mistake he did that made him no longer be the police chief. Now, my belief is that something happened to both Des and Azrael, and due to the revivifying powers of Dark Fountains, which we see in Chapter 4 with Gerson's ashes getting reanimated, my guess is the Knight was the first, or the last, project to try and bring the kids back. That would explain the association between both Des and Rudy and Carol and Asgore and possibly even Toriel. It could explain why the Knight wanted Toriel. If the Knight is Toriel's children, both Azrael and Chris fused together, it would make sense why he would want to get their mom away from the monster that is currently possessing Chris's body, us. Because, make no mistake, even if it's a normal run, we are in control of Chris to an extent that they do not like and they do not tolerate. Lastly, there's this slash from Chris. It doesn't seem to come from the Knight. The Knight has been beaten down into a period of almost submission. And Rousey's words of "how could you?" They're not looking at the Knight. They're looking at Chris. They're asking, how could Chris use their power like that against both of their friends? Now, everyone's talked this scene to death. The knighting scene where it looks like the Knight knights Chris. My theory for that is that they are, in fact, Azrael and Chris, and they are thanking him. Or they are thanking them. And then they try to secure Toriel again. Now, in a normal run, if the Knight beats you, Toriel seems to just be sleeping peacefully. But if you beat the Knight here, if you get the Shadow Crystal, her face is contorted. She's having a nightmare. And after all, what could be a bigger nightmare than seeing your two children fight and kill each other? Now, please be aware, this is all theory. We won't know more until next year in 2025, or unless Toby decides to drop some breadcrumbs. But my belief firmly that Chris's soul is powering the amalgam that is Des and Azrael's dust. Now, as for how this correlates with resurrections, or why they're trying to bring the Ruin, I can't talk on that. Not until Toby gives us more. But until then, thank you very much for watching. This has been my theory video. Have a nice night.